Bonjour à tous et à toutes. Hi, everyone. I want to give some response to the very disturbing media reports in the wake of the tragedy in Tumbler Ridge. I was deeply disturbed by these reports. Obviously, our hearts go to the families in Tumbler Ridge and the families and the communities in this ongoing tragedy. And those reports were deeply disturbing. The report saying that OpenAI did not contact law enforcement in a timely manner. When I read those reports, I immediately contacted OpenAI to get an explanation about the situation. On Sunday morning, my team met with members of OpenAI as well, and then I have summoned the senior safety team from OpenAI in the United States to come here to Ottawa. They will come here tomorrow, and we will have a sit-down meeting to have an explanation of their safety protocols and when they escalate and their thresholds of escalation to police, so we have a better understanding of what's happening and what they do. I'm working closely with my colleagues in Justice, Public Safety, and Heritage on this. I'm also working closely with my colleagues in British Columbia as we examine this. Obviously, the details of the case, it's an ongoing investigation, but I'm happy to give you more information from OpenAI when they come here on Tuesday from the United States to give us a deeper understanding of exactly how such a situation could occur.
Minister, is there anything in law that requires these companies to report anything to law enforcement or the government? And if not, will that be something that plays out as part of the privacy legislation you're working on or online harms?
Canadians expect, first of all, that their children particularly are kept safe and that these organizations act in a responsible manner. And I'm going to working closely with Public Safety, the Justice Minister and Heritage Minister, and the bill on privacy and data that we have forthcoming to make sure that Canadians are kept safe. I will tell you this, all options are on the table.
Do you have any reticence about regulating AI chatbots at all?
All options are on the table. We have to hear from OpenAI and their protocols. We have to hear their safety protocols. We have to hear their escalation thresholds, and we are going to get more details on that. But again, all options are on the table.
Has this reshaped your government's approach to online harms at all, just generally speaking? This incident?
First of all, this incident is a horrific incident, and it's an unimaginable pain that these families. I'm a father, so I'm going to be candid, keeping my, anybody who, it's hard to keep your emotions in check when you hear what happened to these families. Our job and our duty is to make sure Canadians are protected. And I can tell you, we've got Bill C-16 criminalizing, right now that's tabled, criminalizing the non-consensual sharing of non-consensual sexualized imagery with the Justice Minister. I've got my bill on updating privacy legislation in PIPEDA. We've got Mark Miller, under which online harms falls, and we are working very closely together to make sure that we have a suite of measures to protect Canadians. And I will say that that suite of measures will be thorough and to make sure that Canadians are kept safe, especially children.
AI adoption should move at the speed of trust. Given what we've just seen here, what should the trust level that Canadians have in these companies right now, what should that look like?
I immediately summoned the senior safety people from the United States. They are coming to Ottawa tomorrow to find out exactly those questions. And we will ask them questions about safety protocols, escalation thresholds, and trust. And those are good questions. Last question.
Do you think that you can trust AI companies with the safety of Canadians, given this incident?
We will see what they say when they come to Ottawa and they tell us what their protocols and their escalation, and I'm not going to prejudge the details of this case, obviously I can't get into, but I will say this, I am working closely with the Justice Minister, the Public Safety Minister, the Heritage Minister, and I'll tell you, we are making sure that all options are on the table to make sure that Canadians are kept safe.
OpenAI has already provided an explanation. They said that the shooters whatever they were saying did not meet the bar, and that there was not an imminent threat. So they've already provided some explanation as to why they didn't notify law enforcement. What more of an explanation are you looking for, and what do you make of their explanation so far?
I immediately summoned them to Ottawa for a reason, because I want to know the details about their escalation thresholds. I want them to give us details of what their protocols are, what they are specifically in Canada, because Canadians demand safety, and I will get more information from them on Tuesday, and I'm happy to relay that to them.
It's a learning experience.
Good afternoon. So I just wanted to provide a brief update. As you know, in the Budget Implementation Act, the Liberals tried to write into that law unprecedented powers to bypass legislation and regulations, and Conservatives sounded the alarm. So we proposed a series of amendments that we demanded that the government adopt, and I can share with you today that those amendments were adopted at committee. We have ensured, for example, that there will be parliamentary oversight for any use of that provision. We've ensured that it will no longer be up to just one minister to be able to use that provision. They will now need Treasury Board sign-off. And we have drastically limited the scope of the types of other acts that can be exempted. So, for example, the Auditor General's Act will no longer be able to be excluded, as well as some other ones that speak to transparency and oversight. Conservatives are the champion of taxpayers. We are here to scrutinize dispassionately every decision that this government makes to ensure that Canadians' interests are served and that their tax dollars are treated with respect. So we are very pleased that we were able to force the government to adopt our amendments, and that those will now be incorporated into the Act. Alors, c'est les conservateurs qui sont les champions des contribuables. Et nous avons utilisé nos pouvoirs au comité de forcer le gouvernement d'adopter nos amendements pour protéger la transparence et le rôle du Parlement pour superviser les décisions du gouvernement. Conservatives will always ensure that taxpayers' interests are protected. We are coming up on the one-year anniversary of Mark Carney's government, and the cost of living crisis is still ongoing. Mark Carney's inflationary deficits and hidden food taxes continue to push up the cost of food at the grocery store. We still haven't seen the promises that Mark Carney made during the election in terms of tariffs be resolved. Still haven't seen a single new project approved from the Major Projects Office. And more Canadians are asking, where are the results? So Conservatives are focused on getting results for Canadians, and that's why we're very pleased with our members of the Finance Committee who are able to force the government to adopt our measures to protect taxpayers and stand up for parliamentary oversight and parliamentary accountability. So I have to take a few questions, and I'll have to run into a question period.
The tariff regime down in the States, and how do you think it's going to affect the CUSMA deal?
Well, Mark Carney promised Canadians. He didn't just make a promise when he said this. He made it the signature campaign promise of his campaign that he knew how to get tariffs removed. He promised Canadians that he would have a deal by the end of July, and we are almost a year into his mandate, and he has failed to get a deal. That was the signature campaign promise that he made, and Canadians are rightly concerned at his inability to do what he said he would.
Trump went back on plenty of deals he signed with the UK, basically everyone he signed a deal with over the last year, and hit them with a tariff anyway. So where does that leave Canada in trying to negotiate with someone who doesn't really care about what his own Supreme Court says or past deals he signed even in the last year?
Mark Carney didn't say he'd give it the old college try during the campaign. He didn't say that he could only get a deal if Donald Trump did certain things. He promised Canadians, he made it the signature central plank of his campaign that he knew how to handle the U.S. president and that he would get a deal to get tariffs removed. That's what he said. So it's up to Mark Carney to explain why here we are almost a year into his term and he has failed to get the deal that he promised Canadians.
What are Conservatives going to do about the fact that you've seen a third floor crosser now? That you keep losing MPs from your caucus?
Well, it would be a great question to the Liberals as to what the newest member of their Liberal team has done with the promises he made Canadians. He told his constituents and he told Canadian taxpayers that he was going to, not take a paycheck and donate that to charity. Has he done that? Why has he been absent? Why are the Liberals comfortable with accepting someone like that into their caucus? So I'd encourage you to ask them.
With all due respect, he was absent when he was still a Conservative MP. So I'm trying to understand.
Well, at the time, he made a commitment that he would be donating his salary to Canadians at that time. That's my understanding. But
that he may not have done that?
Well, I mean, I think it'd be a question for the Liberal caucus. I would just say this: that when any candidate that ran in the last election, promising Canadians to fight inflationary deficits, promising to get big projects built and support our energy sector, especially coming from a place like Edmonton and Alberta, anyone who won the support of their voters with that kind of message has to explain why they no longer support the things that they ran under. I know that when I was going campaigning for Conservative causes, both in Saskatchewan and around the country, we had a great deal of support for our message, our hopeful message to restore that promise of Canada, to get a grip on inflationary deficits so that workers' paychecks can actually get them through the end of the month. To have, with respect, we campaign on a promise to make communities safer by instituting real bail reform for getting tough on repeat offenders. And that was the mandate that every Conservative got elected under. So anybody who now feels that they can go back on their word, go back on the commitments that they made to their constituents, has to answer for that for themselves.
Do you think Conservatives going to vote for the budget now, or are they just going to let it pass on division?
Well, I think it's important to understand that the budget itself has already passed. That happened back in November. We sounded the alarm on these specific provisions, the so-called Henry VIII Clause. It's called the Henry VIII Clause because it's an unprecedented consolidation of power without accountability or oversight. We fought very hard. We held the line on that, and now we see that the government has adopted our proposals because of that hard stance that we took. In the weeks and months to come, other aspects of what the government has brought forward that need to be improved or fixed, we've got lots of tools at our disposal to try to put forward those proposals to hold this government to account. And with that, I'm going to have to run back.
Mr. Solomon says he's meeting with representatives from OpenAI tomorrow to talk about the shooter using their service. It had been flagged internally, but they never reported what they saw to police or any Canadian officials. What do you hope comes from this meeting with OpenAI tomorrow?
Well, look, I mean, any sense that any tragedy could be prevented is gut-wrenching when you find that out after the fact. And if it's true, as some of these reports are indicating, that there were potential alarm bells that were ignored or at least not flagged, we have to treat that very seriously. We have to get to the bottom of that, because we can never have a situation again where innocent lives are lost in such a horrific fashion, if indeed there were signals that should have been acted upon. So yeah, I know this is an ongoing investigation. I don't want to presume outcomes, or I don't think we have a full handle on all the facts as it is today, but I believe it's very important that we fully investigate any kind of sense that information could have been acted on. Thank you very much. Okay.
Said he's going to be imposing. What do you think that means for Canada? Do you feel like we're out of the woods because we have a trade deal?
You can never be sure what President Trump is apt to do at any time of the day. We're continuing to seek out trade deals around the world and to make Canada strong. That's the most important thing for us.
The sectoral tariffs are still in place. Ontario MP, any concerns that maybe the president might worsen those to make up for tariffs in Canada because the Supreme Court says it's unjustified?
I think President Trump will think carefully on what his next moves are with anything else with regards to Canada. I think he's being very shocked and surprised to see how Canada is really standing up and aggressively protecting our country. So I don't think he's going to do anything more. I hope.
Okay. Thanks so much. What do you think Trump's global tariff? He's going to be issuing a global tariff of 10%.
We're going to have to wait what's going to happen tomorrow. Every day is a new tariff. We have to.
What do you mean that? Do you think the uncertainty? What do you think this means for us?
Uncertainty is very, very bad for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you think that's gone away now that the Supreme Court has ruled?
Hopefully, but I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah. What do you think Trump's global tariff means for Canada? And also the Supreme Court decision. Do you think we're on the wins? We're in a better position?
I think that we're never try to assume what Trump is going to do or how he's going to do it. We're along for the ride and act accordingly.
Do you think we're at least better off,
academics I had spoke to in America who are in the legal field, who are friends of my father who went to Harvard Law, said that the Supreme Court at the end of the day would not side with the president. I was glad that was the case. What it's going to mean for the future of his respect for the rule of law, I couldn't tell you. I think everyone's waiting to see.
What's it mean for us and CUSMA negotiations, would you say? Do you think?
I think it was better for us to wait until we saw this decision before we got entered into a deal, and we're better to see what happens, how the cards fall within the Senate on the votes around the tariffs before we actually make moves forward without knowing where they're going to land. And so I think I have full confidence that our Prime Minister is doing a hell of a job in navigating these. No one else, I think, could be able to do this as well in this country. Very proud of his work so far.
Why do you think it's better?
I got to get the statement.
Okay. Thank you. How are you feeling post the Supreme Court decision on Trump's tariffs?
In the United States?
Yes. And what do you think that means for Canada in our negotiations coming forward?
I like it, but unfortunately, I doubt it means very much because, as we've kind of all heard, Trump's going to use alternate provisions to basically impose tariffs again. And if they rule on those, he'll probably impose other tariffs. So I'm not really sure how much it's going to change anything.
So you think we're better off or worse or anything like that?
I think we're in the same position with Donald Trump, and he's unpredictable, and he'll continue to be unpredictable, and he does what he wants.
Are we in a better position heading into the CUSMA negotiations, having seen that ruling and the momentum?
I think perhaps, and the courts and the whole kind of American governmental system is a series of checks and balances to prevent somebody like precisely Donald Trump doing more than perhaps he ought to be doing, and kind of usurping powers that weren't given to him. And so I think the fact that the Supreme Court is willing to and has weighed in on this, I think does mean something and will be a bit of a check on his powers in the future.
Okay. Do you have a speech to give later today, or is that just some reading material? The U.S. Supreme Court decision on tariffs means for Canada as we're going into those trade negotiations.
I think it reinforces what we've already been saying all along about the tariffs. Obviously, the tariffs are doing an extreme amount of damage to both the Canadian economy and the American economy, and I think in large part that the Supreme Court recognized that. Plus, with the division of power, that this does belong to the houses, right? Mm-hmm. So, that's stuff that we recognize, but we're going to continue. And the most important thing to recognize is we're going to continue our support no matter what happens within the United States. We're going to continue to support the workers and the industry by using the Buy Canadian procurement processes, which is going to use Canadian steel, Canadian wood. So, we really have to continue to focus on those things because the president's already said that he's going to fight and prolong this for years if he has his way about it. So we just have to recognize that we need to continue that support for the workers. They need it now, and the industry needs us to continue to build big.
The tariffs, of course, on the sectors, steel, aluminum, autos, lumber, still remain. Are you concerned that the president might, because the Supreme Court didn't rule on the powers there, are you concerned that Trump might consider strengthening those tariffs on those sectors?
Well, I was here with the first round of the 232 tariffs, and the 232 tariffs, as we know, are separate from the other tariffs that were mentioned a lot in the Supreme Court finding, because the 232 is based upon a national security threat. Although we know that's bogus. I live right on the border. When I wake up in the morning and I open up my drapes, I see the United States, and I don't see any gunships in the water. I don't see any turrets or barbed wire. We are actually mutual beneficiaries of Canadian steel. Canadian steel has protected American military in the Afghanistan war, throughout the wars. And, one of the things that we need to get back to is recognizing that we need to work together to make sure that all our countries are secure and, that democracy and capitalism prevails. And, the last time, many courts had also ruled that the tariffs were wrong because they felt that, again, it should be up to the Congress and the Senate. And I will be talking with the Americans when I go to the United States next month.
Okay, and so you're not concerned about the sectoral tariffs being strengthened? Like Trump might go after that because obviously he can't use the emergency powers anymore. Are you concerned that he might use the other powers under?
You know, I stopped trying to predict Trump a long time ago because he changes his mind from morning to afternoon to the evening. So, you know, again, what I'm saying is we have to make sure that we continue that support for the workers because the tariffs are there now. It's at a 50%, which is very unbearable. And, you know, no business model can handle that for a very long period of time. So we have to support the workers in the industry while we have it. And, yeah, tariffs are always a concern of mine, for sure. Whatever the number is, it doesn't make any sense. It causes the cost of living to increase on both sides of the border, and we're in a cost of living crisis. So, you know, it doesn't make any sense. So, certainly everything concerns me, but, you know, I want to get us back to the table to continue to negotiate, to continue to talk, to get those tariffs down to zero, hopefully, and, you know, so we can continue working together. I think we have a very great relationship in the past, and we can get back to it if we really put our mind to it.
And finally, what does this just mean for our bargaining position as we go into the CUSMA review?
Well, you know what? I think that right now, as we recognize the CUSMA is in play right now, and the president still is doing what he is doing with tariffs and different executive orders that he makes. So, you know, we're going to continue to negotiate with him. We have Mark Carney, who's recognized around the world as one of the best negotiators. So I'm glad he is going to be here in 2026 to negotiate. And, you know, I have a lot of hope and, you know, support him in those efforts as well. And we'll do what we can do, reaching over to our American counterparts. And I encourage all Canadians, you know, some Americans, give them a call, send them an email, tell them let's get back to where we can grow together and protect each other and grow our democracies. We have had one of the best relationships in the world. You know, you think about it, this year's the anniversary, the 25th anniversary of 9/11. And that's when we scrambled the jets as well to protect Americans. We evoked the articles. We were in line with them. We welcomed Americans, you know, to Canada and protected them. So I think all that needs to be talked about, and you know, I hope that we can get back to a normal situation that benefits both Canadians and Americans.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Important issues to all Canadians, standing up for the environment and calling for real action on climate change to workers, especially, you know, workers in the airline industry. I mean, Alex has just been a tremendous MP. It'd be a huge hit to our party, and but certainly wish Alex all the very best in whatever he decides to do. So thank him for his service.
Is it different? I mean, he hasn't decided yet, but is it difficult now to look at these choices, given that the Liberals are so close to a majority and everything could tip over with just one MP?
Well, I mean, we've seen some changes lately. Obviously, Matt Genereux just, you know, went back to the Liberals, it sounds like. I mean, these, I mean, there's no surprise. I mean, literally, they're like pit bulls. They're not doing anything on issues that matter to Canadians. You know, the Conservatives have asked 4 questions to the Health Minister in the last year. So when people wonder whether NDP is relevant or not, well, I think that we see what's happening with the healthcare crisis in our country when the official opposition has, you know, 140 MPs and they can only take up 4 questions to the Health Minister in a year. When we need doctors and nurses, when we see a system that's under attack constantly by privatization, and the NDP is taking on the bulk of this. Like, I've asked more questions than the 140-member Conservative caucus. So when people want to understand whether, you know, the NDP is relevant or important, I think they just need to look at the healthcare system in this country. When there's less NDP seats, the system's farther eroded.
On healthcare, can I ask you, have you had a chance to look at the Conservative motion coming tomorrow?
Yeah, it's tragic. Again, you've got the Conservative Party who've asked 4 questions in the last year to the Health Minister, you know, questions that you know, aren't putting the healthcare system seriously, and they're not taking it seriously.
So what do you make of the motion?
Well, I think the motion is clear. They're prioritizing going after new immigrants, newcomers to Canada, you know, Ukrainians and people from Sudan and the Middle East that are in, you know, under duress, under extreme circumstances where their lives are at risk, and Canada welcomed them, and they wants to take away their benefits or punish them. It's absolutely sickening. I mean, right now we need the official opposition, the Conservative Party, in this health crisis to ask questions to improve our healthcare system. Going after immigrants, going after newcomers, this is disgraceful. I mean, they've asked 4 questions. 4 questions to the health minister. They're the official opposition. And this is what they want to use an opposition day for? It's disgusting.
Can we ask you about Trump and the Supreme Court ruling? What do you think this means for...
I'll let you ask my colleague coming up.
What do you think it means for Canada upcoming negotiations?
Sorry, you're going to have to say the question.
Sorry. Thank you for stopping.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court ruling on Friday that struck down the emergency tariffs that Trump was imposing. What do you think this means for CUSMA negotiations? Does it strengthen our hand? Does it mean we're in a better position, you think?
Well, I mean, clearly, I mean, the impact of the Trump tariffs has had a huge impact on Canadians, on Canadian workers, on Canadian businesses, especially the forest sector where, you know, we're seeing mills close. The impact is huge. And, you know, for his own courts to, you know, justify what we've been saying, that they're illegal from the get-go. I mean, it's hopefully he'll come to his senses, and U.S. consumers alone are feeling the impact. They're bearing the brunt of this, that they're starting to call out the Trump administration and Republicans and holding them to account. So hopefully he'll listen to his own citizens, his own electorate, and his own party members, and change his approach. I mean, this isn't the right approach, and what we need to do is create a plan that supports workers on both sides of the border, and get back to the relationship that we've had for decades. But it is time to reset that relationship. It's time to make sure that people are at front and center of all negotiations and all discussions.
What's this mean for the NDP in Quebec if Mr. Aboultaif leaves?
Well, it's going to be a huge hit for us. Obviously, it's Alexander's been just a tremendous member of Parliament, not just for the NDP, but for Canada and Quebec. And so losing Alex would be just a huge blow to our party, but to all Canadians and Quebecers.
Are you trying to convince him to change his mind?
Well, I haven't even had a chance to see Alexander since all of this hit the media, but I can tell you he's just a tremendous leader, an incredibly valued member of our caucus, but also the House of Commons. I think you'll find people from all parties respect Alexander and his commitment to people, and he's been just a strong motivator for our environment. But getting back to the healthcare issues, I'm going in to ask the health minister another question. I know the Conservatives don't want to do that, but that's something that we're going to do as New Democrats. We're going to make sure we show up for Canadians, and when Canadians see their eroding healthcare system, maybe they should ask the Conservatives why they've only asked the health minister 4 questions in the last year in question period. That says a lot about their priorities.
Just quickly, on the health minister's side of things, they had an announcement today saying that the Canadian government is going to launch a survey as a starting point for a men's mental health strategy. Do you think a survey is a good enough start?
No, it's not. I mean, it's something that I've been working alongside Matt Generou when he was a Conservative member and the former Liberal member Majid Johari. Every year we've hosted a Men's Mental Health Day on the Hill. It's been a nonpartisan issue to call for a men's and boys national mental health strategy. But, clearly, we know that implementing a strategy is going to make sure that there's supports for people, that there's, psychotherapists, psychologists, and social workers, and people there to respond when they need help. And that's why we've been calling for parity with mental and physical health. The first bill we tabled as New Democrats in this Parliament, Bill C-201, is calling for parity with mental and physical health, and the PBO just priced it out and says it's actually something that we can afford. Thank you
for stopping.
What does Friday's Supreme Court ruling mean for our CUSMA negotiations? Are we in a better place when it comes to negotiating? What's your view?
My view is that, look, the U.S. is our largest trading partner. They're the top trading partner for Canada. Our position regarding the tariffs has not changed. We will still work with Americans to work through the tariff provisions that President Trump has put in. But again, Minister LeBlanc is leading on those conversations. My job, as you know, is to diversify our international trading partners, and that's exactly what we're focused on. As you heard, the Prime Minister will be heading out to India, Australia, and Japan to open more doors for our exporters, and so we need to continue doing that. Thank you.
The decision, does it put us in a better position when it comes to negotiations? Does it confirm maybe what we've been saying?
Look, this will be an ongoing conversation. I'm not going to comment on everything that the U.S. says, but I think we need to stay focused on diversifying trade, and of course, Minister LeBlanc is focused on continuing to work with the U.S. Thank you.
Thanks.